Good morning. How is everybody doing? Um, I was really thinking about prayer and miracles lately. Um, it started with John St. Julian, I think you say it, Waman Baba. Well, anyway, he had heart problems and he's back home. I think it's Tanzania now, and he's doing better. So I had a happy tear of joy because I was worried. I really was. To me, he looks so much like my son Lucas. It's like unbelievable. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and I got a blue ring around my eyes. It's kind of dark, and that's the same color my son's eyes are. And I got that from my dad's heritage. It's the McDonald clan, whatever. Don't get along with them. They're um, too stuffy. Well, anyway, that's another story. I got lots of brothers and sisters. They're all half. But anyway, so I'm going to tell you about a miracle I had. I was 23 years old and I was pregnant, 7 months pregnant, and I got punched in my stomach. So the baby didn't move for 3 days. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a phone. I did have a job, however, and it was about a block away. Um, but just so happened that well, I called in and on that last day, and she gave me time off until after the baby was born, and I was able to go back to work and keep my baby behind the desk. And although ladies coming into the antique store, they were more interested in that little new baby than they were in anything in the store. So, but anyway, my miracle was after 3 days of praying, and I tried not to get too upset. I tried not to cry. I tried to eat, which I was having trouble eating anyway. And I was actually losing weight with my pregnancy, which wasn't a good thing. And uh, I did bleed. Well, I ended up getting to the hospital, and the baby started moving after 3 days. So I went into the hospital, and I can't remember if I got a ride or I walked, but that same week I slipped on the ice and broke the membrane for the baby and started bleeding. So I wasn't able to move, and lucky for me, I had a lot of friends around at the time that came in and checked on me, and and the dad wasn't around a lot. He was always out supposedly working, so whatever. But yeah, that was a miracle. It really was. I mean, he was dead in there. I swear it. There's no way I could prove it for sure, but when I went into the doctor, he was healthy, but I had to kind of like hold him in and do these special exercises for the rest of my pregnancy. And excuse me, um, I gave birth to a very handsome little boy, 6 pounds, 2.5 ounces the day before Christmas. So I brought him home for a Christmas present and had a little ornament. It was gold that I had made for him, etched that said baby on it because I had it made before he was born and I wasn't sure who he was yet. So I didn't know if he was going to be a TJ. I was going to name her Tara Jane or a Lukeus Jonah. So I had my Lukeus Jonah. So, and it was nice the day I had him. I had a bunch of younger friends over that had been taking care of me. And we all didn't have a lot of food back in them days, but we got things all together and we had the weirdest combinations of stuff, but all kinds of stuff to eat that day. I didn't eat much, but it was really nice. And oh, I got like jumpers and baby books, and it was kind of like the baby shower and the baby homecoming party and taking care of Barb all at once. So it was really nice. So about a month later, I had quite a nightmare. I'll go into that a little bit later. I ended up having a lady move in because she needed a room to rent, and my renter had Well, they were having a baby. He had a girlfriend named Barbie, and they were all friends of mine. And so um, he went back to where Barbie was in Great Falls. We were all in a place called Roundup, Montana, in the oil field at the time. So, um, yeah, that was something else. I even painted a A&W when I was pregnant. We had to get non-toxic paint and all that stuff, but I ended up doing most of the work by myself. I couldn't get up on the ladder and do the trim, but I did, quite a bit because I was working with this bozo named Bobby, and he was a friend of mine, but he's still a bozo, whatever. So lazy, you know. So I used to wear bib overalls and couldn't really tell I was pregnant a whole bunch, but so I'd just put on these overalls and go work. So that was before I got the job actually in the antique store. And I actually, at that time, we had before a bunch of us worked in a sawmill, and the sawmill went under. And so we took off to about 150 miles away from where we lived in Judith Gap, Montana, to Roundup, to the oil field where the money was. And I literally lived in a tent for a while. Um, till I got my job at the antique store, and she had flats above the store, and I rented one of them. And then she had a beautiful house. I didn't know until later that a lady had died in there, and they didn't find her for 2 weeks. But oh, it was such a beautiful house. It had bay window where I put my plants and stuff, and very old house. And um, it was let's see, 2 bedroom and kind of smaller kitchen, really elegant dining room, large living room, and a walk-in bathroom that looked like something out of a 1920s movie where you have like your changing room and everything. And yeah, it was an incredible house with a porch on the front screened in, and yeah, it was very nice. But then the oil field went down and we all had to move. I went to Billings, Montana, and started cleaning Holiday Inn at night. At this time, I still had 13 stitches in myself from having Luke, but it and that was, I think he was 4 months old then. Um, but yeah, I was still bleeding. I bled a lot. So my miracle is my baby lived. I lived, and I just, I believe in prayer wholeheartedly. I mean, everything doesn't always work out. The father ended up still drinking, still doing cocaine and every other drug that he could get his hands on. And no matter my prayers, that just did not work out after, like, we were together from 17 until I was 34. And I was with him for 5.5 years before I prayed to have a baby. So did he. At least I thought he did. I didn't know later that he would freak out and want us dead. Of course, Satan was using them because of all the drugs and alcohol. So there's a little miracle story for you today. Start your day. Um, I hope it is a happy Monday. It's very hot here in Pine City, Minnesota. I was out feeding my chicken and my horse earlier, and the mosquitoes were a bit rough, and it was already getting hot. So um, I'm gonna let this go. I'll be back. I not sure how long this memory is on here. Um, I'll probably come back and tell you a nightmare. Maybe tonight I'll tell you the nightmare part of that story. Whoa. Yeah, it was nightmarish. Or actually, maybe I'll jabber at you a little bit and see how far this goes. If it cuts me off, it's my memory. It's a funky little phone. Um, Forgive that. Think of it as a cliffhanger. I love you. God bless your day. Section 8. Thank you. Thanks for bearing with me and hanging in. I'm not just an angry woman, but I got an awful lot to be angry about um, on a daily basis. It doesn't go away. These people push and push, and they use people to push at me too. So Whoever you are, male, female, my friend, my family, thanks. Thanks for sticking here with me. I mean it. I appreciate it. So, and I hope your day is wonderful. I really do. I said a prayer that we wouldn't argue. I really did. I wanted you to be able to express yourself, but perhaps not on my channel. Maybe I got a feeling stuff happened to you and you were able to cope with it. I'm not calling you out. I don't know, but I got a feeling. But all I can say is this crap in this world has to end, and somebody really has to be tough enough to fight monsters. And it's not that I don't like fighting. I cry, but I gotta be me, and that is me. I can't help it. It's just the way I was pushed to being somebody I wasn't, and then God helps me whenever I'm in a tight situation. That's why I won't. Well, that is why I'm a little argumentative, I guess I would say, because you really aren't in my shoes, and I couldn't articulate that to you strong enough to to convey that to you. You know, so having the trust in me to tell me to be myself, that's nice. I mean, it is nice. I was laughing to myself. It's like, wow, I never thought about being anybody else, but thanks. That would be nice for a change. No, it wouldn't. I do love myself. You know, I know when I do wrong. I talk to God every second. Even when I'm doing wrong, he's like, shh, Barbara, no, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say it like that. And I'm like, that's me, that's me, that's me. And he's like, you ain't doing that in my house. I go, I know, I know, I know. And I do ask forgiveness. Kind of is a private thing, the forgiveness issue between you and your father, our father. But I'm bearing myself out here. I'm laying myself out here for everybody. And I really do got a lot in here that I got to get out a little bit at a time for everybody's understanding. I'm not special. I was just stuck in a position with a bunch of monsters and decided to fight against them because I didn't see anybody else fighting. I had a brother. I'm 5'9 1/4". I have a brother, adopted brother. He is 6'4" and big, and would not say a word to my mother or father when they were abusing him. One time, my dad, he's like a 300-pound monster, was in there beating the crap out of my brother, and he had him back pinned in a chair in my brother's room. And I ran in there, and I was about 12. I started becoming quite the little warrior. And I went in there and I tried to pull my dad off him. He was punching him. That's the way we got raised. It looked pretty on the outside. We wore all these fancy clothes. We lived in a mason front redwood house with bricks and on a hill and walk-in basement and, bastards. But what it looked like on the outside was not what was going on in the inside. So I tried to grab my dad off my brother. And at the time, I was about 12, so my brother must have been 14, 15, somewhere in there. And so as I'm pulling on my dad, his jean jacket came off and he went back hitting on my brother again. So all I could do was try to push him sideways. And that's when I started pushing people. Well, when I took judo and then got into more martial arts and boxing, when I boxed the crap out of Eagle Scout, and he was really mad at me and wanted to kill me. That was one of my first, besides my brother or parents trying to kill me, that was one of my first outside dude wanted to pummel me and couldn't touch me type of thing. So yeah, because we had all kinds of sports equipment in our elementary school. We had swords, we had everything. Well, we had swords in our home too, and whips and all kinds of implements of destruction. So weird household. More on that one later. But yeah, so Wally Jr. was getting his butt kicked, and I literally saved him. And Or if my dad was yelling at my mom, my brother just lay in his bed crying, and I would say something, I would do something, and I'd get in trouble for it. But I've always been like that. I can't be anything else but me. That's just me. So, anyway. Anyway, today is a way better day. My son Lucas he tried to kill himself. I hope he wanted to be a minister. That's why God attacked my sons, because they're precious, they're good. You would love them as human beings, funny, handsome. I'm not just saying this. God gave me gifts that Satan's trying to destroy, that I raised them to be leaders, and Satan said, no, 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 they're not. So they ended up on alcohol, speedballs, heroin, up and down, that type of thing. And because they got taken over to their father's house, another thing that the Masons interfered, and they had more money and won in a court. So after raising my kids alone for about 6 years, not a word from their dad. He literally left them on my adopted parents' porch with no shoes to go to school the next day at the wrong school. Well, they used to go to that school, and so my folks took them in and called me, and I was working at the casino dealing, so they stayed there for about, I'm going to say 2-3 months. And then my parents wanted to adopt my children and take them from me while I was trying to save money to make a home for my kids. With all this going on, they tried to take my kids. So I went down there and I got them. And I would still let them visit here, but I didn't want my children going down there, because not only the abuse, but they were being fed wrong, they were being taught wrong, and just telling it like it is. So my battles got worse after that. But that's just a little bit on the Lukeus Jonah, and then the Jonathan David. Jonathan's in jail right now. He punched his girlfriend so hard he broke her eye socket. And he wrote me a letter, and I just can't bear to write him back yet. I don't know what to say or how to say it. I definitely can't. Well, I love him, but I don't like him. So I'm not sure how to approach this. It's not the first time I've been through with him being in jail, but it is the first time. Well, and I've heard he's beat up people before, women. And both my sons tried to get rough with me, but I just am a more accomplished